Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been forever, but I'm back and I just had to come and make another video to let you guys know that I am still living in Atlanta 2 years later and everything is going great. I'm sorry, just trying to adjust this lighting. So yes, okay. So I still live in Atlanta 2 years later. I think the last I uploaded my video in 2018, October of 2018, letting you guys know that I had just moved. So yeah, I mean, it's been 2 years and a lot has happened. A lot has happened. Honestly, these past 2 years feels like it's been like 5 years in 2 years. It's just been so much. I've moved like 3 times. I think I moved 3 times since I've been here. And now I'm finally, like, I live all by myself now, you guys. This is crazy. I can't even believe that I'm here at this point in my life. I'm standing on my own 2 feet. I am doing this, so I'm really excited about that. But that's not what this video is about. This video is to tell you my top 10 tips for moving out of state, things that I think you should know. A lot of people have asked me, like, what do I recommend, or, you know, just like have called me and asked me just different things about the moving process. So I thought I'd make this video and put this out here for anyone who's interested in relocating or moving, you know, to a whole new state, a whole different city, or even staying within the same state. And you're just like relocating to a whole different part of town. I totally get that. All this applies if you're making a big move in your life. These are some tips that I'd recommend you pay attention to. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So tip number 1 is to plan. You guys, you can't do anything without having a plan. That's literally anything. Like, and honestly, a lot of these tips are going to kind of blend together because they all kind of about like piggyback off of each other. But number 1, you do have to have a plan. You have to make sure that you're not just going in this like blindsided. I'm a planner, so this stuff comes naturally to me. But definitely get a pen and paper, get a journal, a notebook or something, and just get ready to just write a whole bunch of stuff and just, you know, create a plan. Tip number 2 is to budget. And honestly, this is huge too. Like, you know, you kind of have to figure out exactly how much money you're going to need, and, you know, figure out how much money you're living off of now, and, you know, your total bills and all of that. You know, like, you got to have a plan for your money. Tip number 3 is housing. You got to figure out housing, where you're going to stay when you move. Do you already have a place lined up? Are you going to be able to stay with friends or family? You got to figure out, you know, if you don't have a place lined up, you know, like rent, you got to figure out and do all the research in that area and figure out, you know, what you're gonna need for housing. Luckily for me, I was able to stay with friends until I was able to get on my feet, and that was a blessing. My sister just moved out here too last year, I think it was, and me and her got a place together. So that's kind of like things that you got to think about when you're moving. You know, housing is huge, especially when you're getting ready to relocate completely to a whole new state. You guys don't understand, like, this is huge. And especially if you're staying with other people, you got to figure out like how long you're going to be staying with them, because you don't really want to overstay your welcome. You know, these are just like big things that you got to think about. My ultimate goal was to be able to stand on my own 2 feet and, you know, take care of myself, and where I don't have to depend on anybody for housing or anything. So that was my vision. That was my goal. It took me all the way until now to get here. And thank God there were people along the way to help me. But you got to figure out and make a plan and be realistic. Don't overstay your welcome. Really just figure out exactly, like, you know, you got to figure out where you're going to live. Tip number 4 is to have a job. You guys, you got to have a job. So unless you're rich, like I'm not rich, so I had to have a job, and I didn't have a job before I moved out here. So that was like even riskier. And so if you're like me, you know, really scour the job market before you come and figure out, like, you know, how competitive it is and just different things. Atlanta is very competitive. It's a really competitive city. Thank God I didn't have a huge problem like finding my job that I'm at now. thank God. But I know that there's a lot of people that are applying for some of these really good jobs that are not getting them, just because the market is flooded. There's so many like really smart people out here. My sister has a master's degree and she's been trying to get into health, you know, her field, and she's just having a really hard time as well. But you know, you also can't really be picky. So my thing is, by any means necessary. When I came out here, I found a job. Like, honestly, I was willing to do whatever I wanted to do. You know, I would go work at retail if I had to. But you know, you have to have that motivation to find work by any means necessary. We can't, when you're in a situation like if you don't already have something lined up and you have to move, and you're in a whole new city and you don't have anything, like this is not the time to be picky. Sorry to say it and sorry to hurt anybody's feelings, but if you want to make it, you got to take any job, like literally by any means necessary. My first job, I was working as like, I don't even know, like a front desk person at a wellness center, and was making like way below minimum wage. Thank God I had like a bunch of money saved up. So really that job was just to like have extra cushion so I didn't have to dip too far into my savings. But you guys, like, I am the type of person, I will literally do anything for work until I get to where I want to be. So you kind of have to have that mindset. Otherwise, you know, it's going to be really hard. If you're relocating for work, like if your job is already moving you, like more power to you. Like, that's awesome. Chances are, if that's you, you probably don't need a lot of these tips because you probably already have your housing and stuff figured out. But if you're just going out on a whim, just up and moving, like, you know, with no job, nothing, just winging it like I did, taking a leap of faith, then you know, you have to have that mindset, like you're gonna do anything until you can get in where you need to go. So that's tip number 4. And tip number 5 is, drop my note card. Tip number 5 is to network. I'm big on networking and talking to people. I like to connect, and you know, I'm nosy, so I'm like, ooh, what do you do? Ooh, how can I, you know, help you with your business ventures or whatever, you know? So like, get to know people, talk to people in your area. Social media is great for networking, especially Instagram. I get a lot of information on Instagram, you guys. I meet, you know, a lot of people, or, you know, just find different pages on whatever, like, you know, you can go into Instagram and type in any city that you're going to and find different things like Atlanta restaurants or Atlanta lounges, or, you know, just literally anything. So do, find, you know, connections in Atlanta, or wherever you're moving. You don't have to just find them in Atlanta, wherever you're moving. Just get out there, and even when you're in the city or wherever you're moving, be open to talking to people and getting to know people. I was really excited to get like an in-person job before COVID because I was like really excited to meet people and work with people that lived here, because honestly, that's how you get information. Like you interact with the natives, right? Like if you're a traveler, like, you know, you go to other countries, you want to get the best experience of the country, you go stay with the people that live there. You don't go take tours on tour, like general tours. You go right into the people that live in the city, and they will tell you the ins and outs, right? So that was kind of like why I was really adamant on getting like a regular day job and being in person with people, because I like to talk and I need to know. So what you know that I don't know? How can you help me? I'm that type of person. So yeah, tip number 6 is to research. Like I said, a lot of these have piggybacked off of each other, but I'm serious. Like, research. Google is your best friend. Like, and this should just be with anything. Like, you can literally, we are in a day and age and a time right now where the internet, we have access to literally anything we want to know is at our fingertips. So we just have to, like, you know, get into that habit of Googling it. Like, you can literally Google anything. So research, do your research. And the research, you know, ties into everything. Research housing, research jobs, researching networking opportunities, you know, research everything. Research, research, research. Tip number 7 is to save. This goes into budgeting. Once you have your budget in place, you know how much money, or have an idea of about how much you're spending now and about how much you might need when you move, then you start to save. And you know, we should all have savings accounts, and I'll be honest, there were times for a long time I didn't have savings, so I get it. But at this point in my life and where I'm at, living on my own, like, I just like have to have a savings. It just freaks me out to not. So save, save, save. Not only save for, like, you know, expenses that you might need up front if you move and you don't have work right away, but also just have a savings, like, just, you know, building your emergency savings in general, like, because you'll be, if you're like me, away from your major, you know, like family support systems and things, like, you don't want to have to always, you know, it's just nice to have savings. Like, we're grown now, you guys, come on, let's have a savings account. But I get it, if times are hard, I get it. But if you're especially trying to move, you gotta have a savings, okay? Tip number 8 is to know who your support system is, or where your support comes from. Now, this is kind of touchy because not everybody has a support system and not everybody knows where their support comes from. So, you know, that's why this is important to know before you do make a big leap of faith. Take a big leap of faith. If right now you have people that you know are going to be in your corner, to, you know, that support you during this process, you know, you can turn to them to help you and encourage you along the way. Also know that there are going to be people that are going to talk you out of, try to talk you out of what you're doing. So those are the people that you don't necessarily need to bring along with you. I'm the type of person where I'll listen to anybody. I'll listen to what anybody has to say, and anybody's advice. But I also have discernment, and I pray and I talk to God, and, you know, I talk to myself. Like, there's a lot of things that have to happen in my mind before I really accept somebody else's advice. So that's just me, and, you know, we'll talk more about that later. But we just have to, you know, let me just say this, you guys. I would not be where I am today if I listened to what any and everybody had to say. That's all I'm saying. So know who is in your corner and who is going to support you. And if nobody is in your corner and who it is not going to support you, and maybe it's just you and God, like, that is okay. I have been there when it's been times where I just felt like it was me and God. And that's okay. Like, I know that that's where my help comes from. So I know that I can turn to Him in those times. Not to say that I don't have a support system. I'm grateful. I have a very strong support system, like actual people besides God. But I'm just saying, like, I know that there are people that don't or may not have a lot of support. So just know that you're going to need to be able to turn to something in your times when you're on this big move, because there's going to be times when, you know, things aren't necessarily going to go your way, and it's not always peaches and cream. And I'm just being completely honest, and you're going to need somebody to turn to help you, push you through, and encourage you to get through these times. So yeah, know where your help comes from and know who your support system is. Tip number 9 is to pray about it. You guys, this should be tip number 1, but I wanted to kind of leave this to the end so that you can kind of just, like, you know, stick it in your mind. Like, this should be the number 1 thing that you're doing. Before you do anything, you got to pray about it. Like, don't, you know, we can't just, oh, I'm going to do this today and just go out and do it. Sure, you can. Go ahead and do it. It might not be God's will for you. And chances are, if you're just, you know, doing it on a whim like that, it's not God's will for you. So you may probably end up slipping and falling and bumping your head. And that's why I say to pray about this, because there's so many things that we think we want to do and that we think are God's will for our lives, and they're really not. And so we get in these situations, and we end up falling and bumping our heads because God never really told us to do that to begin with. So you really don't want that to be you, especially if you're getting ready to make a huge move. Don't just move because somebody else is moving, or because it looks fun, or because, you know, whatever, you know, do this because you really thought about it. This is really something that you want to, you know, this is a desire of your heart. You feel like God really called you to do this. Have a vision and a plan for like what you're going to do when you're out there. Start envisioning your life out there. You know, like just, you really got to get into your heart and God, and, you know, really just press in and figure out if this is really going to be the right thing for you to do. I made a video before and I told you guys, like, you gotta pray about it, you gotta pray, and I'm like so serious about it. You just gotta pray. It's seriously the biggest thing. You can't just do this without prayer. Okay, last thing, tip number 10 is to just do it. Once you get confirmation from God and once you know within your heart that this is truly something that you want to do and that this is going to work out, even if, you know, the cards don't necessarily seem completely clear right now, you know, hey, that's all part of the journey. You know, like, we walk by faith and not by sight, right? That's the whole purpose of this faith journey. So we did all of our back end stuff. We prayed about it. We asked God to reveal to us, Lord, if this is your will, if this is where you want me to go, you know, open those doors, Lord. And if he does open those doors, then that's where, you know, you're supposed to go. If he doesn't, then maybe you should revisit it at another time. But after you get that confirmation, like I said, tip number 10 is to just do it. Be strong, be courageous. The Lord is with you. He goes before and behind you. He's parting the Red Sea for you. He has promises. He's taking you to the promised land. And so these are scriptures and things that I recited over my life. And when I got that confirmation, he was just telling, you know, pouring out these things to me, like, you know, and as I was walking on my journey, like, doors were opening left and right. And so I was just like, okay, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. Okay, Lord. Thank you, Lord. So really all I'm saying is, you guys, you can do it. It's really not, it's not easy. I'm gonna be honest, but it's not as hard as some people make it seem. I know the hardest thing for me was leaving my family, my mom especially. But, you know, I kind of had to do that to grow up and to become the woman that I am today. So there's a lot of reasons why my move was necessary for me. It's helped me literally become the woman that I am today. I feel so much stronger and so independent. Like, you guys, this is just like a great time in my life. I'm really happy. So thank you for tuning in and watching this video. I plan to make more videos and to continue to grow this channel. And I just appreciate you guys for being patient and, you know, waiting for 2 years. I know I'm just horrible, but again, thank you again for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. If you have any idea or tips or anything on what type of, or any questions I should say, that you guys may have, leave them below. And I will talk to you guys in my next video. Bye.